At an awards ceremony for advertising campaigns in Cannes, senior executives from Microsoft and Burger King met while accepting awards and came up with an interesting way to advertise both of their products. They would work together and produce 3 games for the Xbox and the then upcoming Xbox 360. Now, ads in games, or advergaming in this case, is nothing new. Marketing products in games, whether by in-game ads or making a game based on a product or its mascot, have been around for a long time, with the best example being Chex Quest, a Doom mod based around the titular cereal. Developer Blitz Games, who created the Big Green Darling Fusion Frenzy, were tasked with creating these titles for the restaurant under their King Games moniker. At first, the games were meant to be part of Xbox Live Arcade as downloadable titles, but when Burger King saw how good the games were coming along, they decided to release them on physical discs, as Burger King wanted Big Green owners to play them as well, but couldn't since OG Xbox didn't have access to Live anymore. On November 19, 2005, Big Bumpin', PocketBike Racer, and Sneak King were released and sold at Burger King restaurants for $4 when purchased with a value meal. At the time, the reviews were mixed, with Big Bumpin' being the most well-received, and PocketBike Racer and Sneak King tying for the worst. But it's been 15 years since this Whopper-fueled trilogy came out, and I've got to wonder, have they aged better with time? Plus, technically these did come out on the Big Green. I know they had it on the 360 on the same disc, but they're still on original Xbox, so I gotta talk about them. So with that, let's see if BK can still have it their way, and if these games can kind of sneak their way onto your Big Green collection. God, why did I say that? I am so sorry. There's gonna be a lot of Burger King puns, probably. Yeah. Let's just get on with the games. Let's start with Big Bumpin', the best of the bunch. This arcade-style romp has you and 3 other opponents, either AI or human, bump each other around 5 hazard-filled arenas in bumper cars, earning points for every character you knock off the ring, with various power-ups scattered about to give you speed boosts, shields, or repair your bumper car, to name a few. There are 12 characters to choose from, like the King himself, the Subservient Chicken, a guy in a Whopper Jr. costume, Brooke Burke, for some reason, as well as creating your own character and a bunch of randoms, with a few colors to choose for your bumper car. There are 5 modes to play. Last Man Standing, which is the standard bump into enemies to win mode. Own the Puck, where you must hang on to a puck to score points, with the first to 300 being the winner. Bumpin' Hockey, which is, well, hockey. A shock ball, which is like a game of hot potato, where if a player has said ball that shocks, a timer appears above their head, causing massive damage when it explodes. The survivor is the winner on this one. Lastly, there's Power Surge. There's 4 lights that are around the arena. When they light up, you must go to them to collect electricity, then take it back to the conductor to bank your points, all while avoiding getting hit by opponents or walls. First to 300 wins. There's also tournaments, which has you compete in a series of modes to try and win first place. These are pretty fun, but the only thing you really get from winning them is 2 extra car colors and bragging rights to Big Bumpin'. If you want them, I mean, do you really? I can see why Big Bumpin' is held in warm regard by those who played it, as it's actually pretty fun, mostly due to its simplicity. The controls are easy to handle, and the gameplay, while done before in certain minigame party titles that may or may not have an Italian plumber in them, is still a blast to play, especially with friends. Visually, Big Bumpin's very colorful and bright to go along with that theme park feel of a bumper car ride, and the characters look okay as well. Though, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way for this game and the other 2. They do look better on Xbox 360, but not by much, so it's not really a big deal. Audio-wise, the music's not bad, but nothing really stands out. Just some average rock and techno beats. Meanwhile, the narrator is the only voice you hear, and he's just meh. There really isn't much else to say. Big Bumpin' is definitely a fun time, but again, make sure you have friends. Or live if you're playing on 360. But I doubt anyone is playing online Big Bumpin' in 2020. Either way, this one's a definite grab. Speaking of multiplayer, let's go ahead and head to the next game in the trilogy, PocketBike Racer. Again, taking a page from Nintendo's fabled mascot, PocketBike Racer is a Mario Kart style, racer, where you race on 5 tracks, complete with gates that you race through to earn speed boost and weapon power-ups like rockets, bombs, shields, and a control reversing disruptor. What's cool is that if you max out your energy bar, you can select a lower level power-up if need be. The same characters from Big Bumpin' return. Now instead of bumper cars, they're riding on tiny bikes. Bikes that to this day I don't understand why they were so popular. You can also create a character here as well if you don't wish to play as a dude in a burger costume, or a chicken, or Brooke Burke. There are a few modes to play, both in tournament and free play, each having different CC modes, the other two having to be unlocked as you play through tournaments, which is also how you unlock bikes. There's your standard race with weapons and such, time trial, battle royale, ultimate cone trial, which is like a slalom, and standard race without the power-ups. These also support local multiplayer with up to 4 racers or 6 online in the 360 version. I can't lie, this one's okay. Granted, the controls aren't the best and can feel a bit slippery, and the tracks aren't very creative in terms of layout. Though, it's not as bad as reviewers made it out to be back then. Although, just like with Big Bumpin', it's a lot better with friends. Also like Big Bumpin', the visuals of PocketBike Racer aren't that bad. Most of the stages give off a cool suburban vibe, such as a BK parking lot, construction site, and neighborhood, while the other two, the King's Garden and Fantasy Ranch, are just like you'd think they'd be. Meanwhile, the characters look, well, about the same. Again, now they're on the tiny bikes instead of bumper cars. The music is simple this time, but pretty good, with 2 rocking tunes, and the song from the BK Tender Crisp Bacon Ranch commercial.
I love the Tender Crisp Bacon Cheddar Ranch, the best they grow on trees, and streams of bacon ranch dressing flow right up to your knees.
Anyway, it's, like I said, not that bad. It definitely fits the tone of the game, and I found myself bobbing my head while I played. This time there's no voiceover at all, so who cares. PocketBike Racer, while still a fun enough game, is indeed a weaker title than Big Bumpin', but not by much. It's still a fun afternoon time killer, especially with friends, and still playable enough if you're solo with the unlockable classes. But what if you don't want to play with friends? What if you really want to do is sneak around and give burgers to people? Well, I've saved the best for last for you, my friends. Welcome to Sneak King. Sneak King is an interesting beast. You play as the infamous king. You know, the mascot that loved to scare the shit out of people by surprising them with delicious Burger King food. Anyway, as the king, you'll traverse through 4 levels, each having a set of challenges that you must complete in order to progress to the end. To do this, you must channel your inner solid snake and sneak around, delivering food to hungry people around the map, evident by a floating burger around their head, with 4 levels of hunger, ranging from slightly hungry to, oh my god, I'm about to pass out. However, you mustn't be spotted and stay out of their cone of vision, otherwise they'll lose their appetite due to being scared by a creepy looking guy in a king outfit. When you are able to surprise them, a Flourish meter appears. Hit it at the right time and you'll hand them a Whopper or coffee or fries or whatever in style, gaining those sweet points. When you complete half of the challenges in the stage, you can move on to the next level. That's pretty much it. It's a simple game, but pretty challenging. Well, more challenging than the other 2 games. Controlling the king isn't all that bad. Basically like if Sam Fisher was handing out burgers instead of snapping necks. Truthfully, Sneak King's gameplay is fine, it's just nothing special. Unless you're heavy into stealth games. And Burger King. However, some of the challenges can be pretty annoying since the king needs to run around to get through the stage to get to hungry customers. but you can't run too much lest you get spotted. But sometimes you're on a time limit, so it's a constant back and forth. After a while, Sneak King really starts to get a little tedious as you complete challenge after challenge with not much incentive to go for 100% completion, besides a new suit for the king. Yeah, it's not worth it. In the graphics department, again, Sneak King isn't terrible for a budget title. The stages you play through are varied enough, like a logging yard, neighborhood, construction site, and downtown at night, and they look fine. As for the characters, while the king does get the most attention to detail, his unsuspecting hungry prey are about average. For audio, the soundtrack takes a royal approach with a more orchestral sound. All I can say is, at least it's music fit for a king. As for voices, the only ones you hear in-game are the NPCs, and they speak in this, like, Sims-style babble nonsense, and it's nothing special. There is a narrator for the few cutscenes in the game, but it's mostly just... yeah, it's just there.
King's sudden arrival caught many in the community off guard. Some at the scene described the occasion as majestic, regal, and also uncanny, as it was hard to know how the king knew they were all hungry.
Being the most unique of the trilogy, I'm a little surprised that Sneak King was looked at with less enthusiasm than the other two titles. But at the same time, I understand why. After a while, sneaking around giving people Burger King does get a little boring as opposed to fast-paced arcade-style games you can play with your friends. Still, Sneak King is, if anything, a neat curio to have on your shelf. It goes without saying that the Burger King trilogy isn't really some of the best games ever made, but it is definitely one of the most unique things to happen in the history of video games. But if you look past the fact that these were pretty much meant to get you to buy a number 4 with fries and a Coke, these games aren't really that bad. If anything, they're like a conversation piece in one's collection, you know, like, hey guys, remember the time Burger King made video games? Regardless, these games are still a fun time, at least to kill an afternoon if you're bored. Plus, they can be pretty cheap to pick up, especially if you'd see a ton of them sitting at a GameStop bargain bin for going for $1 or cheaper than that. So, yeah, grab them if you see them. And maybe a Whopper. Or a croissantwich if it's morning time. Due to the success of the 3 games, and I do mean success as when combined together, they were one of the best-selling titles of 2006, it allowed Blitz Games to continue making games, a few on the big green that we've either talked about already or have yet to talk about, before sadly shutting their doors in 2013. As for the world of adver games, it continued to be a pretty popular thing in the common years, with other companies getting in the mix, like Doritos with their Unlock Xbox contest, and Toyota with the demon that is Yaris. Ugh. And while Burger King wasn't the father of this idea, it's nice to see that their idea alone led to something odd, but fun. And with that, this is the Dali Popka saying, have it your way. I mean, stay green, my friends. And thank you, drive through. See you next time. I'm sorry. I've just got Burger King on the brain. I don't know, but... Huh? What? Oh. There's a... Okay, well, I guess this was a sign. I guess I'll eat this. I'll see you next time. Yeah. Actually, pretty good. Maybe I should play adver games more often. Hey, you got any ketchup?
Let me get some of that ketchup.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and want more of me and the Big Green, then click that subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new content arrives. I want to say a special thank you to my patrons for helping not just the channel grow, but me as a creator. You have my forever thanks. If you're interested in the channel and would like to help it grow further, consider becoming a patron today. For the cost of a soda or an item on the dollar menu, you can help myself and the channel provide the best source of Big Green programming and more. Once again, all the thanks and love.